what's up? What's happening? Welcome here to Lacrosse Now. I'm Travis Eldridge. He is Tom Eschen. Big show loaded with a couple of good guests coming off big weekends. We've got Pitt head coach Emily Boissonneault. The Panthers undefeated to start their first season in program history. Also, Ryan Archer coming off a big win for Hobart over Lehigh. He joins us to talk about that and looking ahead to a big Friday battle with Colgate.
We've got big, bigger, and biggest in terms of wins, women's wins over the course of the weekend. And then we're going to play some Jeopardy today with the men's. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then stock options return for the NLL, do some buying and selling. But also, before we start, happy 2/22/22, everybody. As you can see right here.
You're a big 2 fan.
I wore this by accident today. I got a stain underneath this, but it all works out because it's within the theme of the day.
Happy
This was my number.
Tuesday.
It's a big day for me. Like, I feel like we should be celebrating accordingly. And we are.
And you are. Happy Tuesday to everyone. See? Let's start with the women's game. And we're going with big, bigger, biggest. So we're going to go down or up the list, I guess, who had big wins, who had bigger wins, and who had biggest. So why don't we start with your big win? Who had a big win in your estimation?
You know, they beat Stanford last year, but I like Denver's, close defensive win over Stanford this time around, too. 8-6 was the final there. Denver trailed 5-3 at the half, then outscored Stanford in the third 3-0 as a part of a 6-goal run. And, everybody, of course, going into this year, Stanford with the big recruiting classes, a bright future for them. But at the end of the day, you sort of have to know who are the teams of the experience, who are the ones coming back, and who are the dependable ones that we're going to find them at the end of the year. And Denver is one of those. 16-2 last year, won the Big East tournament, lost the NCAAs to Northwestern. But at the same time, they've got experience coming back. And because of this was such a defensive battle, got to shout out Sam Thacker. 4 cost turnovers, 3 draw controls, 2 ground balls in that victory. She was great for them last year, solid again this year. I just liked what they did against a good team in Stanford who has a lot of young talent and able to get the job done. They are 3-0, take on Ohio State, which should be another big one for them on Friday.
Yeah, Denver's off to a good start.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you can kind of sleep on them there in the Big East, but a strong start for the Pioneers. I'm going to stay out west for my big win here of the weekend. USC, the Trojans, went on the road to Jacksonville, got a win, and looked good in the process, a 13-12 victory. Isabel Vitale, 3 goals and an assist, the freshman. So new face there on campus for the Trojans, steps in, led the way with 4 points. And I think you hit on it with Stanford's struggles here early, a couple of losses here in the early going. Yeah, I think the Syracuse loss you kind of wipe off, but the Denver one, a game that I think you maybe want that Cardinal team to win out of conference if they want to be kind of the class of the Pac-12. I think maybe the Pac-12 is kind of wide open. And USC, a program that has had some of that hype in the past, let them kind of sneak in there and have an opportunity to compete with the likes of Stanford. Colorado, I think, is going to be in the mix. Arizona State has shown some improvement. So I think the Pac-12 is going to be a really fascinating league this year. And I think you got to keep an eye on USC. Got some fresh talent coming in there. You can recruit out west because the campus is gorgeous. You're in L.A. It's a great spot to be. So bringing some talent out there and performing right away. All
right, bigger win. So my bigger win is going to be Duke over William & Mary. We thought, we did our predictions. I thought Duke would win, but this was a blowout, 23-5. For Duke over William & Mary. Man, Belmont Thierry still did her thing, 3 goals and an assist, but they held Lauren Russell to 0 points as well. Maddie Jenner, 11 draw controls, and this Duke team, they are pounding people to start. 4 wins this year. All 4, they've scored at least 22 goals. I mean, they're making a statement and that they want to be a team at the end of the line that is competing with the big wigs. And I know that's going to be a tough task, but I just like what Kirsten Kimmel has done in this program and making sure that the talent and the depth is still there. And I feel like it is. Year by year, it just feels like they always are dangerous. And, of course, that's where Charlotte North originally came from, to go to Boston College before that. So she's a great recruiter. Duke, on a yearly basis, does a great job elsewhere as well. So they've been really good. Catriona Berry, 29 points. Katie DeSimone, the sophomore, 26 for them this year. So they get that big win over William & Mary, come back and beat High Point 22-13 on Saturday. That's an also impressive win. Great weekend.
Goals.
Great weekend. Bigger weekend for Duke.
I like that pick because, look, you forget about some of the other teams in the ACC. They're good, but trying to compete with the likes of Syracuse, North Carolina, Boston College is really hard. Duke trying to be the team like Notre Dame was last year, where Notre Dame was like, hey, we can be in that party. Maybe Duke's that team this year can be in the top 4.
You kind of like some of these early games. You see what like these teams are loading up in their arsenal.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
How they're getting ready to go take on and see what they got against those bigwigs.
Yeah. I'm going to stay in the ACC with my bigger. So our themes are like spot on. And I'm going to go to the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, beating Stony Brook 12-11. I think, first of all, this is a big result for Stony Brook. It's a young team that has some inexperienced pieces that have not quite proven themselves, and they went to the Dome and went toe-to-toe with the Orange. So all the credit in the world to Joe Spallina's squad. He messaged me on Instagram yesterday saying, hey, look out for us by the end of the year, and I will. I mean, that's an impressive performance, especially in a big weekend for Syracuse to go up there and perform. But Syracuse performed. Megan Carney, 3 goals and 4 assists for 7 points. They're continuing. I think the most difficult thing when you go up against Syracuse now is like, who's the person you have to shut down? Because for a while it was Emily Harashuk. You've got the Tyrell sisters. Yeah. You've got Megan Carney. You have so many different pieces. And so it feels like on any given day, any one of them could be the one to blow it out and score. I think a lot like Duke on the men's side. So I think as they continue to figure out who's going to take the ball in different situations, I think it's going to be a really dangerous offense. The one concern I have for Syracuse is the goalie situation. They once again split between Kimber Hauer and Delaney Schweitzer. Schweitzer had the first half. Hauer had the second. They only had 5 total saves between the two of them. The goalie situation they're going to have to figure out before they play the likes of Boston College and North Carolina, because those teams are going to pepper the goalies. No matter how good your defense is, they're going to get their shots. So that has to be figured out for Syracuse to compete with the top. But beating Stony Brook at home, a top 4 win, I think that's a big win for the Orange.
Yeah, and I think that Syracuse, with Kayla Traynor, the new coach as well, she's starting to get her reps, but getting a close win, important for them, and getting in that scenario. I think towards the end of that one, Stony Brook had a late yellow and unreleasable. I think it was their 5th or 6th yellow card, which sort of hurt the ending of that, where Stony Brook might have got an opportunity if it was an even spread to go out there and tie it up. But at the same time, Syracuse, a nice win over Stony Brook. Always plays them tough on a yearly basis. So getting just that win, I mean, it's a top 5 team. So
right. I mean, it's a top 5 win.
Forget about that. It's a top 5 win over Stony Brook.
It was 3 versus 4, I think, in the standing, in the ranking.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't, just because Stony Brook plays in a smaller conference or whatever, you can't say, well, they're
legit.
They are legit. Okay. Biggest win for me.
Yeah. What is it?
Princeton. I'm going the Ivies. It was a tough weekend for Virginia. They played Princeton and Maryland. It wasn't going to get, this was the second of those 2. But at the same time, it's also Princeton's first game in 700-something days. I know you heard all those Ivy League stats. And they're playing a Virginia team who was just battle-tested a couple days before. And you got to see Princeton for the first time, and they looked good. I mean, this game, Virginia was a little bit close in the first half, then Princeton really pulled away. Marge Donovan, we talked about her in the preseason, how talented and big she is in the back end for them. 5 draw controls, 2 caused turnovers, 2 ground balls in that game. I think that's going to be a huge backbone for Princeton this year and be the favorites going into the season with the Ivy League. So seeing them with this big of a win over Virginia, talk about Duke, Virginia kind of in that same kind of realm of an ACC team looking to make that next step. A talented team at that. Princeton comes out, first game in forever, and really performs.
Well, for my biggest win, it's like we read each other's minds or something. I'm going to that Friday game because I said it going into the weekend that game between Maryland and Virginia was kind of like a prove yourself game for both. Who's legit here in the early part of the season? And I don't think anybody should be surprised. Maryland's legit. There are people ranking them outside the top 10 in the women's polls here in the preseason. Like, what were we doing? I mean, you got Aurora Cordingley, who has slid right into this team and is just taking over. 4 goals and 2 assists for the Hopkins transfer. Libby May goes off for 5 goals. Hannah Lubecker with 5 points and 4 and 1. This is the win, though, that I think kind of cemented them as, all right, we can look at Maryland as a top 5, top 6 team again. And I think the class of the Big Ten, as we look ahead into the beginning part of the conference season.
It's just fascinating because for so long, Maryland got the benefit of the doubt.
Right. It was like, a bad year and a half.
One shaky year for them where they don't make it to the Final Four, and now they're not getting enough respect.
It's like that was the standard?
I can't even say it. The Maryland isn't getting enough respect.
No, but now they're getting
that out of my mouth.
Now they should get the respect. They're top 5 in my women's poll.
I mean, combine the men and the women, I mean, they could both win a championship
for
this
sure.
year. I mean, without a blink.
100%.
I mean,
They're really good.
I mean, they're still coached by Kathy Reese. They still have a lot of talent, as you just displayed. They brought in one of the best transfers in the world accordingly of the offseason. So, yeah.
They've just reloaded. And honestly, all those recruiting classes added up, and they got a little bit of experience the last couple of years, and now some of those players that were young now are stepping into roles and performing.
Yeah. So congratulations to Maryland. And
yeah, big win. Good win for them.
The biggest win for you.
The biggest
of the weekend.
Win. Speaking of big, Pitt has a gigantic game this week. The Pitt women, first ACC game in their program's history. They host North Carolina. So expectations are going to be high for that one. And we had a chance to catch up with their head coach, Emily Boissonneault, before that big game.
So the head coach of Pittsburgh, Emily Boissonneault, joins us now. Emily, appreciate you coming on, and it's finally here. Obviously, you've already played games now. What has the last couple of weeks been like for you, and starting off this program on a high note?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, an emotional roller coaster, I think. Getting ourselves up for the games and then learning how to rebound and make improvements and change up what we're doing. But it's been fast. Like we've been joking in the office, we already have our first ACC game this week, and it's already 4 games in. It seems so surreal.
I want to go back to that first game against Duquesne, because first game in program history, your first time on the sidelines, and you go to overtime. What were the emotions and the tension like for you on the sideline coaching that game as it goes into the extra time?
I was really surprised by myself and the team, to be honest. I think it's obviously my first game as a head coach stepping into that situation. Like just the overall poise and confidence from our team was really special. I think that was one of the things I always questioned going into our first game. Like our emotions are going to be pretty wild, and being able to handle those situations. But I just felt so calm and confident that we were in a good place and we were in control.
Yeah, and you talk about the emotions, and I think I read a couple articles in which you were quoted saying, yeah, I might get kind of teary-eyed. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel even in these moments. What has made you so passionate about this program? I feel like that's probably been building up over the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like any of us, like I'm super competitive, and being away from the field for 2 years has been really tough. I think this summer I coached like a high school, or not a high school, like a committed tournament game. And I joked with the other coach, like, this is the first game I've coached in 2 years, like, watch out. Yeah, like it was that, I mean, I've put 2 years of my life into this at this point, 2.5. And honestly, our team has too. Like we've had 21s and 20s committed from, I think a semester after me being here. So, and I know how special each of them are. We always talk, it takes a really special type of person that can commit to this type of process. And they're really incredible young ladies, and to see them perform the way that they have, it is really emotional and it's special.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're undefeated. I mean, this is like unheard of for a new program. You guys come in and you haven't lost yet. What has that whole process been like? Because, I mean, every time you have to have this cautious optimism, like, yeah, this is what you hope to happen, but you also have the realism of like, hey, we're a brand new program. We've never done this before. So like, this has to be the best thing you could have hoped for. Yeah, no, it's a great feeling. And I mean, like, as a new program, there's so many things you're learning, and learning to win is a really big, important piece. And I spoke to a lot of head coaches that started programs, and that was something that was really important to them as well, or they identified, if you don't learn how to win early, then it becomes harder, right? And to have that optimism and the confidence going into the next game. So I think it's a really great start for us. But we've also held ourselves accountable when we know we're not playing to the standard we need to. And I think that's a good lesson for them to know as well. Duquesne, we had 18 turnovers like that, unfortunately is just not the level of play that we, the standard that we want to be playing at, and I think, defensively, we were pretty disappointed with ourselves against St. Bonaventure. So I think we took a lot of positive learning out of it too, and making sure that the girls aren't getting too ahead of themselves. Winning is great, but we also have to know how to come back when we're not playing the way we want to be.
I wanted to ask you about the makeup of your team because it's really interesting. You've got, like you said, some of those freshmen and sophomores who've been with the program. You've got some transfers that have come in, really talented ones on that page. Petty, Allison Trice, and Paulina DeFatis, to name a couple. You've also got some of the former Pittsburgh club players on your team. How does each of those groups sort of all intermingle and make up who you are?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really amazing and really special that we have some high level transfers. And I mean, you named a few of them. Madison Cattell would be another, and Molly Carter, unfortunately, not playing this season, but she's another one. And I think that just feeds our team with confidence. Our players just see them and they know and they can trust them without even knowing who they are as people, and that was probably one of the coolest things is they stepped on campus and our team just had this blind trust in them. And I think that's really important, as we develop our leaders and our culture. And then you have people like Peyton Reed and Kieran and Caroline who came from the club program, and even, like a Therese Pittman who came from Siena. Those players just have a sense of pride and I think they're just so grateful for everything that it also teaches our program to be humble and, to take every moment and every opportunity for what it is. And I think that that's really special when we build up the younger half of our program for them to kind of see both sides of, these really experienced players and then these players that have to really fight for everything they have. It's a really cool dynamic.
What's it been like watching these players who you had a chance to recruit before there was ever an on-field product to be able to sell, and now watching them actually get a chance to perform in games? Like, what's that process been like?
I feel like we've created such a strong foundation with our original 14. They've just been, I can't thank the University of Pittsburgh enough for giving us that year. Because we had players, like a Britt Vilhauer who came from Jacksonville, who may not have seen the field at Jacksonville, but we had a year to make her into a really special player. I think Carly Leach and Maureen McNearney and Abby Thorne, those are all players that they needed an extra year of development. And because of that, we took these players who were incredible athletes, and I feel like we've really developed them into quality lacrosse players. And I think each one of them can say that, for themselves.
Can this season, and you've already performed well, what you do at the end of this year help define the next 5-10 years? Is it that important? Is it that big? Where does this all fit?
I think it is. I think, and it's not just performance, it's a feeling. It's the environment, it's the culture. I really want to be the type of place where people can come and watch us and they just see the passion and they can see what we're creating and that it's an amazing place to be, and we'll continue to build and get better, and it's, the end where we end this season isn't going to define us, but how we act, how we perform, how we compete, I think is very important, for that foundation. And I was fortunate to be a part of James Madison in their 50th year anniversary, and to see a program like that grow over the 50 years and find success. I absolutely think that where you start is so important.
So here we go. This is the test that is coming when you're playing in the ACC. You got Carolina come to your place for the first time ever on Thursday. What do you tell your team about the challenge and obviously also the opportunity about playing a team that is that talented and that highly regarded and such a prestigious program here on Thursday for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We had, I think, Allie Trice today, we met and she made a comment this is why we work so hard. This is why they work so hard to be recruited by an ACC level program. This is what you want. This is the dream, to be playing teams like UNC and BC and Syracuse. That's what we want. And so that's really, I think, something that I'm trying to hone in on, because, that's why they all came here. So that's really an important part. And then the opportunity piece we're talking about a lot. UNC is going to wake up and have coffee and eat breakfast and put their uniform on the same way that we are. So at the end of the day, we're all stepping on the field doing the same thing that we, playing the game that we love. And it's going to be all about heart and the battle for us. And, put up a great start to our ACC season.
And this time around, you're doing it as a coach going up against Jenny Levy instead of a player in the Team USA, Team Canada dynamic. That's got to be pretty interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Jenny is always awesome to compete against, and I'm excited to put out a good product for her.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you have found out you're going to be wearing that Canada jersey come up this summer. What was the team's reaction when they found out you made that final roster?
I think that, I've played in practice. We always have a good time. I think the competitiveness is really what I bring to the team. And so, I think we talk a lot about working hard and taking advantage of every opportunity. And I think the team's really excited for me. And I think they're really proud of me, just like they are, for the other girls who hopefully have an opportunity to compete this summer as well.
It's so cool to hear you talk and hear people talk about you and your program and hear that toughness. And it just melds so perfectly with Pittsburgh. It's really neat, right?
Yeah, it is perfect. Steel City tough. Yeah, definitely.
When you've looked back on 2 years and getting to this point, is there a story or something that you remember of, like, now that you've had a chance to play in games, that it's like, oh, you know what, that the craziness and all this different stuff that I did and weird jobs I had to figure out and things I had to do to get to this point, like, you look back and you smile in terms of trying to build this program?
Yeah, I mean, I look at Emily Coughlin all the time, number 4, and I tell this story to everyone because I just think it's so, I don't know, Pittsburgh, or it's just really, I don't know, but she went to high school at Oakland Catholic, which is basically on Pitt's campus. And I just went to a little practice that one of the local clubs was throwing here, a camp, I guess it was. And she was there. And I just remember being like, that kid is so athletic. She just goes so hard. Catching and passing wasn't necessarily her strength, but she was so athletic. And I just remember thinking we could get someone like her and she could come. And it just so happened that she had applied to the university, and she just kind of fell into our lap. And over the last year, she's turned into an incredible athlete and an incredible lacrosse player. And I just think those things have it's just serendipitous. It's serendipitous the way that some of this has just fallen together. And, especially for the city of Pittsburgh, for that, it's just so true to the lacrosse here in the city. And I'm just so excited for her to be an example of the type of people that can come from this city, and how we can help them develop into being the best lacrosse player they can be.
Yeah, because that's so cool, because you think about yourself, immersing yourself in the world that is Pittsburgh, but also getting that in return, and them investing in you and seeing that in your own player now playing for the program and saying, oh, I want to go play there. It goes both ways. I think that's really neat.
Yeah. It's been pretty incredible, especially for her. And Karina Latsko is another one who transferred in from the city of Pittsburgh, but excited.
That's so cool. Well, Emily, we can't wait to see how you guys compete on Thursday. It's going to be so much fun to watch your first ACC game against North Carolina. Good luck, and we hopefully will catch up sometime here soon.
Thanks so much.
Looking forward to that game on Thursday for the Panthers. I mean, talk about what a start, and now you have the opportunity to host North Carolina. Look, it's going to be tough to compete at that level, but, I mean, the Panthers have a lot to be proud of so far.
Welcome to the ACC. That's what it's going to be.
That's their moment.
Yeah, that's their moment, and they're going to compete.
At least it's at home.
I just loved, just to touch on this real quick, Emily Boissonneault, and just talking about her players and the passion she has for them, and you can just feel it within that program, and I think that's really cool. For especially, she said they're trying to be a part of something, and I love that there's that vibe already of everybody seems to really get along really well. The chemistry is there, and that for something that's so new. I mean, and a lot of different groups of people.
And very much, and very much embrace the city. She's not from Pittsburgh. For her to really embrace that city, really cool.
All right, let's play Jeopardy.
Yes.
I'm excited for this.
Time.
So we have clues and answers and the whole 9 yards. This is all about the men here. And the answer is within the top 20 and receiving votes of this last IL media poll. So I will, without any further ado, this team outshined its league rivals this past weekend, proving it might be hard to see who the winner of its conference will be this spring.
Outshine their league rivals. Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah, so look at maybe a conference or a league as a whole, and then kind of go from there.
Man, I don't know who. I have no idea.
All right. That's the sound they make.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Boston University
Oh,
in the Patriot League.
okay.
BU in the Patriot League, because you look
game against Bryant in a snowstorm, by the way.
yeah, well, that's I had, as they do in Jeopardy. I had the answer and be hard to see who the winner is. See what I did there? I hope you got it at home.
Wow, that was a nice touch.
But it was not the best weekend for the Patriot League. Let's be honest. Loyola lost, Lehigh lost, Army lost. All teams that we thought at the end of the year would be at the top of the conference, and they weren't great losses either. They weren't playing the top 15 teams in the country for the most part. But you got BU, who goes out there, beats a tournament team from the year ago, the NEC champs from a year ago, and they scored the last 5 goals. It was tied 8-8. They go out and win it going away. So it was a nice performance, number 1. It was in the snow, number 2. Matt Garber, 14 saves in the cage. Jake Cates, been there for a long time now. He had 4 second-half goals, 3 in the 4th. So maybe there's a vibe of this BU team that at the end of the year could find themselves in the mix, because right now the conference outside of that, I mean, Bucknell won as well this past weekend, but outside of, them, there's a lot of teams in the mix here, and Bucknell's gotten a little bit better too, don't forget. And
don't forget about Navy, who had a couple of wins up in New York this weekend.
Navy beat Manhattan, but that wasn't a very pretty win either.
Yeah, they beat Hofstra 2 on Friday, but no, honestly, it seems like a very wide open league.
Yeah.
And hey, I don't know about you, but you got, or I don't know, I didn't have BU in my top 20. Would they be a top 20 team for you after beating Bryant?
Not for me.
I know
no.
there's a lot of Twitter talk about the hate against the Retrievers.
Right, after a nice win.
It was a very nice win.
Like if we were doing our big, bigger, biggest, I'd call it like a big win.
Big win.
Yeah, not the biggest, but a big win for sure. And they got, so next up for BU, UMass. So that should be a nice game at home, a big one for them, and then at Colgate after that.
I would be very interested to see how BU plays against UMass, because I think UMass is a little bit better than they're being given credit for. They haven't played much of a schedule yet. I will be very interested to see Terriers and Minutemen this weekend. That game at Nickerson Field here in Boston. So I'm looking forward to that game on Saturday.
All right, sounds good. All right,
I'm up.
Nervous.
This team,
Ken Jennings, all on you.
This team went on the road, scored 20 goals, and provided the most surprising result of the weekend.
Oh, that's Ohio State.
Ding, ding, ding.
Boom.
Correct.
Wow.
The Buckeyes, man, and this, I wasn't sure if I needed the 20-goal thing there to make sure you got this one. But they beat UNC 20-8. Just an absolute, nobody saw this coming. Like, you may have picked Ohio State winning. Did you think they were going to beat them by 12?
I didn't think they would blow them out, no.
Like, look, you can say, hey, Ohio State's going to give North Carolina a game. Maybe they squeak one out. Nobody saw them beating them by 12 at UNC. Like, this wasn't even in Columbus. What a performance from Jack Myers. We spoke to Coach Nick Myers prior to this season. You can listen to that interview back at the beginning of January. We were talking about Jack Myers, and I asked him, like, what's the next step for him? Is there a next step? And Nick was pretty honest. He was like, yeah, I think there is a next step of what he can do, and this is it. Like, him being the orchestrator, quarterback of this offense. And I think, if he does that, like, they've got shooters. You talk about some of the different Canadian pieces they have. They did, and Jackson Reed only had a couple of goals.
Yeah.
Like, he's a key contributor for this team, and he didn't do all that much. Caton Johnson in goal. Obviously, this game meant a lot to him, the North Carolina transfer. So he steps in, and he's solidified that position. Justin Inacio, also, don't forget, he went 18-26 in the faceoff X. We said this earlier in the year. Like, very well could be a All-American by the end of the year, Justin Inacio at the faceoff spot. A guy who's been in that consideration before. He's dealt with some injuries that have kind of derailed seasons, and Ohio State struggled a bit here in the last couple of years. Buckeyes are for real, and I think this shows it.
Yeah, I think Inacio being able to work with some of the new faces on the circle has been really important, with Ryan Tarafanko moving on. And you look at these teams on a yearly basis, and this year, we remember doing our previews, and we said, a lot of these guys, a lot of teams got a lot of guys coming back. And how is that going to make things more competitive, or where is that going to put everybody? Some teams did lose some pieces. And I'm thinking about North Carolina when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And they lost some pieces. And some teams did more than others. But the composition of a team changes on a yearly basis. And especially we see that in February, talk about Duke all the time. But the composition of that changes enough and it sort of throws you off kilter for a little bit. I mean, I don't think North Carolina's dead in the water by any stretch.
No.
But they've got some figuring out to do. And they met a team in Ohio State that had some of those veterans and has a program with a lot of depth, and we're probably undersold heading into the year 2. So it was surprising, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, you look at it now, and it's like, it makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think nationally, you look at North Carolina and you see the fact that Chris Gray is coming back, and he's a Tewaaraton finalist and was one of the top scorers a year ago, and you go, okay, well, they're going to be good again. And I think they still might be, but I think there's more to figure out, as you just said, for this team than maybe they had to last year when you had this entire midfield that was coming back of guys that he could set up.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
You're up.
I'm up again. Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Why aren't we in the top 5? We've got a top 20 win, a Tewaaraton favorite, and a somewhat recent history of success.
Why aren't we in the top 5? A Tewaaraton.
Do you want some help here? Do you want to look at my top 20?
Yeah,
I got the list here. That way you can get a good reference point.
Who is...
I did not answer that way the first time.
Yeah, you didn't. Who
is...
is...
While he thinks about it over here. This is like legit Final Jeopardy.
Who is Duke?
No. Ooh. You want one more guess?
Yale.
Yes.
Okay, you've gone with the Bulldogs.
It was a little bit of a trick question because...
Who's their Tewaaraton favorite?
Matt Brando.
Okay, all right.
That's part of my reasoning here.
Okay, he's maybe a little outside of the top handful of guys you would think about.
Because no one's talking about Yale.
There we go. Let's hear it.
Their somewhat recent success is the fact that you talked about this the other day. They've been to the last 2 championships they've been eligible to play in.
I'm all in on Yale. I like the Bulldogs.
So. And they have Matt Brandau. He went off against Villanova. 5 goals and an assist. He's been good since he was there his freshman year. They bring in an awesome recruiting class. The freshman Machado Rodriguez, of course, no more TD Erlin. Machado goes 10 of 17, 5 of 6 in the 4th quarter against Villanova as well. They're number 3 recruit in the nation. Leo Johnson had a hat trick in this game for Yale. So there is your next up-and-coming prospect.
They're good.
Thomas Bragg, Casanova, New York shout-out, a goal and an assist in that game too. They've got all these guys that are also part of this this recruiting class that includes Jake Cohen, who played. Brad Sharp started at attack as well. So they've got a lot of young talent. And they've got a goalie from Team 91, the sophomore, Jared Paquette. 9 saves in this one as well. So I think that people forget about Yale. You don't know and you haven't seen them. They should be in the top 5 right now. They beat Villanova, and I know you argue for some other teams because you got Notre Dame, who has 1 win against Detroit Mercy, which I'm not really looking. And they both played 1 game this year.
You're right.
What win is better? The win over Villanova.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't judge it. What you can. It's hard. You can't judge.
And then I look at the makeup of the roster.
The rankings. Now, if you're arguing with the roster, then for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
and Kevin Aw's great. No problem with him. But I think he's going to be rubbing shoulder to shoulder alongside Matt Brandau at the end of the year as Tewaaraton finalist favorite when it all comes down to things.
I'm a big believer in Yale, and I do think that look, I mean, I think everybody with the Ivy League is like, all right, well, let's wait and see. But if there's anybody to believe in, it has to be Yale. All the other teams I think have a lot more to prove than Yale. Yale has proven it already. They've been there, done that, and they bring back a bunch of guys who have done it on this stage. They have done it in the Final Four.
And my question is the whole, they didn't play in a year. They didn't play all last year. Is that being overblown a little bit when evaluating these teams?
Well, I think all it's going to happen.
They still played together, competed last year, and they had scrimmages this year. They had a whole full fall ball.
It's going to take 2 weeks for that to go away.
Well, that's the thing.
We've got another 2 games, and everyone's going to go, oh, okay, Yale's for real.
I mean, for the most part, the Ivy League teams look pretty good this week.
They did.
They all didn't play great competition, but Cornell doubled up UAlbany. You had Penn competing with Georgetown, who people think is a Final Four favorite.
Yep.
And Princeton dominated their opponent too. So I just feel like the Ivy League, it's okay, enough's enough now. We get it. They didn't play last year.
Here.
We don't have to overblow that because I don't know if that's going to exist pretty soon. And
we know
how things left. At the end of
they were one of the best conferences in the country.
They had 3 top 5 teams? I think it was. So, all right, I digress. My turn.
I like Yale. All right,
Were they in your top 5?
I don't believe so. I think they're just on the outside.
All right, we'll see.
But they're up there. All right, let's go. This team is 2-0 after a 2nd straight win over a top 20 team on Saturday.
Oh boy.
They have a top 4 matchup this weekend.
Who has a top 4 matchup with a team that's 2-0? So A top, what will they when they have a win over?
They're 2-0 after a second straight win over a top 20 team.
Are they in the top 10?
Yes.
This Georgetown?
Yes.
Wow.
Ding, ding, ding.
Nice.
Correct.
All right. I got
the Hoyas.
Who is Georgetown?
Who is Georgetown?
Who is
and,
Georgetown?
They're a really good team. And legitimately, I think they've shown this. Look, to go into the schedule they have this year, like they had high expectations. So to have those expectations, then walk into the season, would have been really easy for them to trip up against Hopkins because Hopkins had, at that point, 3 games under their belt, and they're going to Georgetown for Georgetown's first game of the year. Been really easy. It was a couple of different new pieces for Georgetown, trying to figure things out. Would have been really easy for them to lose to Hopkins. They go ahead and just run away from them in the second half.
Yeah.
And then they go on the road to Penn, a team that, look, I mean, no one's seen them in a year and a half. So, like, you got to tough to scout, first off, and you've got a guy who a lot of people think is a Tewaaraton favorite in Sam Hanley you got to handle, and they handled him. They took care of business. They go up there, and they get a tough, and I'm going to say gritty, and this is a little toss nugget there for Lacrosse Twitter. Gritty Georgetown wins. It's a fan favorite of everybody. But they just got it done. Graham Bundy, who we spoke to earlier this year, really impressive guy on top of a lacrosse player. 2 goals and a couple of assists to lead the way. James Riley at the faceoff X was terrific. Went 14-22, 11 ground balls. So not only is he just winning the faceoff, but even with the standing neutral grip, he's winning it to himself and finding ways to get possessions for the Hoyas. Got great goaltending, and the job that the defense did, especially Will Bowen handling Sam Hanley and that Penn offense, was really, really impressive. So to be 2-0 with those wins, I think tells us everything we need to know about Georgetown here early on. They are legit and deserving of the top 5 ranking.
Yeah, and they'll have to continue to be,
because they got Notre Dame this week.
Yeah, and I think that might be the measuring stick, completely. And we talk about, I know I talked to the Ivy League teams up. It was their first game for Penn in a while, and it was kind of an ugly game, but
wasn't pretty.
I think a little bit more what we'll see from Georgetown this year, right?
But that's how they think about Georgetown the last 3 years.
That's true. I mean,
that's how they win.
They had some better off, they had to come great, Caraway. They had some games where they rolled a bit. They had some 20-goal games, I remember, the last couple of years. But I think it's going to be more of this than that.
But I feel like this is within who
they are.
This is the Kevin Warren DNA.
Yeah. He's a defensive guy. Absolutely.
This is, hey, it doesn't matter how it looks on paper, how it looks in the box score, who won at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the Hoyas, more recently, they've won. And the thing I do love about what they've done this year with the schedule is that this is the type of schedule they were playing a handful of years ago when they kind of struggled. And so they went away from scheduling some of these huge games, especially early. They didn't have quite the gauntlet the last couple of years. So they would go into the Big East and everyone would be wondering, okay, we've got them in the top 10, top 15 in the country, but who are they? Well, we're going to know who they are by the week 3 of this season. And I think this game against Notre Dame not only will show us a lot more about Georgetown, should show us a lot about Notre Dame as well, because we're waiting to see what this Irish team really looks like against a competition that is equal to them. So I can't wait for this game this weekend, but all props to Georgetown. Two impressive wins to start the year.
Yeah, they're deserving of their ranking and where they sit, and we'll see if that continues to be the case between the number 3 and 4 teams in the country this weekend. Yeah,
one game we didn't talk about, Hobart knocking off Lehigh. That was an impressive game in the over a Patriot League team. Hobart's in my top 20.
Okay.
Not everybody else's, but my top 20. And we had a chance to catch up with Ryan Archer, who had 6 points in that big win. So joining us now from Hobart is Ryan Archer, coming off a big game. He had 6 points in the win over Lehigh this past weekend. Hey, Ryan, I just want to let you know, you guys are in my top 20 poll, so I got you. I got your back after that win. It was impressive. What was the reaction from the team after you guys took down the Mountain Hawks?
Yeah, it was definitely electric. I mean, a bunch of the younger guys seeing success early definitely helps the morale going forward. But again, we understand, second game of the season doesn't really mean anything, especially with it being out of conference. Obviously feels good, but, it's only a 24-hour feeling.
So, like you said, a good experience for the younger guys. Is that what it means? You said it doesn't technically mean a lot, but what does it mean? I mean, what do you guys take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it helps us with confidence. Obviously, we had some good scrimmages in preseason. We scrimmaged Yale, went over to Yale, played them. So, competed with them pretty pretty competitively. So I think, those early, wins, early competitive play kind of, builds upon each other, especially early on in the year and going into conference play. So yeah, just, honestly, it just builds confidence. And when you're playing with confidence, our team, we have a lot of depth. We have a lot of experience, with grad guys coming back. And I think that's just huge, rolling into following games.
Speaking of confidence, your faceoff guy, Adam Shea, has to have confidence through the roof after the performance he had against Michael Sisselberger. Best guy in the country. He goes 50%. What kind of boost was that for you guys? Because you know what that is like going into that game. You know that the faceoff spot is probably a plus for Lehigh walking in. What kind of confidence did that give you, seeing him fight like that?
Yeah, we have all the confidence in the world in Shea. He's been a stud. We know how good he is. We obviously don't get the recognition as other teams. I mean, there's no secret there. And the funny thing is, everyone knows how much, Sisselberg benches, squats and all that. But, our guy's big too. He can compete too. But, he won't ever talk about it. But he goes in there, he grinds every day. He's the hardest working player on our team by far. He's always out getting reps. So honestly, it was no surprise to us. I think that just helps his confidence moving forward. And if he can, keep doing what he's doing, we're going to have a lot more possessions. We're going to have a lot more success. So I think, obviously just keep him confident and keep him playing well, and, good things will happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like that makes a big difference when you go down the stretch in the middle of the season and you have guys like that. The veteran, like you said, the veteran vibe of your team, that's got to, make this sort of last go-round for you mean a little bit more, and seeing some of these guys, everything one more time?
Yeah, I mean, especially, this being my last go, and other guys too. We have a very senior-driven team. But yeah, so we're taking every game like it's our last. I mean, we never know what's going to happen. We're just, we're playing with confidence. We're having fun. And I think that's the big thing too, is just to enjoy it with my, brothers and teammates, and, just, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to get nostalgic at all? I mean, you go to Colgate, to Cornell, and to Syracuse as a guy that's from Central New York. I mean, that's just right around the loop there. Like, this is one last time around all those teams for you one more time.
It's like a little tour, go around, touch each one up. No, I'm excited. I mean, we do have a pretty hefty road schedule coming up, but those local teams, they'll be day trips, which will be kind of an adjustment. We haven't had one of those. I know I haven't played at Cornell since my freshman year. So, it's been a while doing that. Same with Colgate, with the whole COVID thing. So, we're excited. We're excited to embrace it. We're excited to, get on the road and play those teams, because we know, it's that upstate battle. It's, hard nosed, it's cold all the time. So, we'll embrace that for sure.
Hey, I mean, you're an upstate guy, and what do you tell anybody who's not used to playing in snow and cold when you play with them at Hobart? Like, what's your tip when you have to deal with snow, whether you go to Cornell or Colgate? I mean, you guys got a bubble now, so now it's almost like you're soft.
Yeah, we are kind of spoiled. We kind of joke about that now. We call ourselves, a rainy and 35 team, because, we're always out there, grinding. But definitely that bubble has, been a privilege. We have definitely gotten used to that and enjoyed that. But, obviously it's just, you go out there and you toughen it up. It's not always sunny and 75 every day.
True.
I mean, you played if those that don't know, you played for your dad at JD, Jamie, and obviously such a great program. How has your relationship with him changed, over the course of your college career? Of course, everyone knew that what you did with him in high school, but now that you're this sort of seasoned veteran, how do the conversations different and things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, it has changed a little bit. I mean, obviously in high school, with him being my coach, we kind of funneled everything through each other. Like, he's constantly giving me pointers here. I'm constantly bouncing ideas off that. And obviously, in my beginning portion of my career at Hobart, obviously he helped me tremendously in that transition. But, towards the latter half, I kind of started to gain some insight. He started kind of taking a little bit of a step back. But he's more or less now just, my biggest supporter. He's always just kind of, obviously telling me tips here and there, what I can do better, always finding the nitty gritty. But, I'm thankful for that, which when I need it. But yeah, he's more of a fan now. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing. It's kind of cool to see that transition, and, but it's been great. I love him to death. He's gotten to me where I am now. So, but yeah, it's been a great relationship.
Obviously, so many great players who have come out of Central New York before you. Who was the guy or the couple of guys that you looked up to coming up through the ranks?
obviously one was, Jordan Evans. When I was younger, I think I might've been in 8th grade or, middle school, but, him having the success he had. And my dad being the coach, I was really close with all those guys. Scott Furman's another one, all those, studs coming out of JD, that went to the next level. So, seeing them play, seeing the success they had, I think that just pushed me to, build my class. And, a lot of other teammates I had go to JD, we knew what the culture was like. We knew we had, it's a winning program. And just looking up to those guys kind of it was just awesome seeing them win.
Your bio says you're a psychology major, Ryan. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, is that sports psychology? Like, are you getting deep? Like, should we have a session here?
Yeah,
What's going on?
I'm no therapist. But it's more, with an entrepreneur studies minor and, business, obviously I've had some business opportunities and internships, but, it's definitely unique. I get a lot of questions. All my buddies kind of, make fun of me thinking I'm going to be a therapist and all that. But, it was cool. I had a good time doing that. It's the liberal arts education here,
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
exactly.
The human mind. What an amazing instrument, right?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Being a guy who grew up in Syracuse and then you go over to Geneva, that's obviously not too far. Like, could you live somewhere without a Wegmans?
That's a great question. Everything I do is through that place.
Yeah.
I think I could. I'd be pretty lonely without it though. Definitely a big supporter of the Wegmans family and the Wegmans brand. And I'll be taking that. I'll be taking that with me for sure.
Yeah, I will say I went to Syracuse, then moved to Binghamton, and then I came up here to Boston, and there are Wegmans here, and it made it feel like home, even though I didn't know too many people. So it really it's a great thing to have.
Exactly.
Old reliable.
Yeah,
It is an old reliable.
Yeah, they really have you like that firm foundation. It helps you.
Oh, family first, community.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
We should get you a marketing job with the Wegmans brand here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it.
So you had an internship at Drumlin's, a big course out there in Syracuse. What'd you do there? A big golfer?
Oh, I love golf. And all my friends know it's probably my number one sport. I love to do it. I play every day in the summer pretty much. But yeah, when I worked there, I was just kind of doing backroom stuff, tournament planning, all that, event coordinating, which was awesome because I was just around the game. And, when the course is going on, I'm at the range getting reps in. So yeah, no, that's just awesome. I do love golf. And yeah.
What's your handicap? Are you good, or is it just a love for the game?
I'm around a 5 handicap.
So you are good.
Yeah, I play a lot though, so maybe it should be lower the amount I play, but
we had
I'll take what I can get.
We had Graham Bundy. Was Graham Bundy
Yeah.
big golfer too?
He was a big golfer.
Yeah, he was around there, Graham. Like he was at that range. I don't know. Is there something with lacrosse and golf? Like, is there a crossover? I don't even know.
I don't know. I know a bunch of. I think there might be low key. Maybe the hands, maybe the wrists.
Yeah.
I don't know though. That's a good question.
Hand-eye coordination, big timing, that whole thing.
Yeah, we may have to put together like an invitational here. Some
Honestly,
Rob
I'm all
Pennell.
for it.
Yeah, Rob Pennell's a great golfer. Yeah, let's make this happen.
Put a little side league.
Yes,
yeah, for sure. Hey, Ryan, we appreciate the time, man. Good luck. I know you got a fun stretch here with all those upstate New York teams on the road. So good luck. Hopefully not too much snow for you guys. Safe travels, and we'll hopefully catch up sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan.
So that was great from Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to see them doing well, and it's cool to see. I love when those Syracuse kids go local, and that schedule he has is great. He said, he didn't seem like he'd be nostalgic about things, but I bet going through there as a player one final time will be fun for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more trip to the Carrier Dome, a place
True.
that he probably has seen a number of games and played a number of games as well.
He has, yeah.
That game coming up in a couple of weeks. All right, let's finish up in the NLL. Speaking of indoors, big weekend in the league. We had a bunch of games.
Yeah, some good action.
Yeah, and we're going to revisit our NLL stock options from, it's about a month ago.
Yeah,
so
we've been checking in basically every month. We bought our stock. We had our first iteration of this segment December 9th.
Yep.
Then January 12th, and now it's February 22nd, as you know. So we're going about a monthly basis here. So we got a good little thing going.
All right, I'll go first because I've got I'm changing my portfolio.
Yeah, you got a lot going on.
I am making moves
here
as we enter the final quarter or so
financial advisor
of this NLL season. I'm selling Vancouver. because I think
Yikes.
I think I've topped out on what the Warriors are doing. I bought them early on in the season, and since we last spoke, and I said I was holding on to them, they've won 3 in a row.
Oh, okay.
They took care of Calgary this past week at 11-10. I really like this Vancouver team, and I'm all in. Like I'm pumped. However,
Until you're out.
However, they've got games in their next couple against Halifax and Toronto.
Ooh,
and I
okay.
think both of those teams are really talented.
Yeah.
So I'm selling high.
Yeah, that's
I still think they're going to be a playoff team in the West. I think they are a team that is to be reckoned with down the stretch. May revisit them in a little bit. Maybe if they lose a couple of these games, maybe I buy them back.
Well,
and then,
that's the thing. If you're taking a chance here, if they win these 2 games,
I could be
they double in terms of value.
I could be leaving some money on the table.
Yeah.
I could be. And maybe this is like some bulletin board material for the Warriors. But I'm going to sell right now and then wait for a later date.
All right, good plan. I'll go now.
Yeah,
My
go
turn.
ahead.
I had the San Diego offense. I'll start with.
Yep.
They were a hold for me last time. They were the team I bought back in December, and then I held them in January because I liked what they were doing. They were the #1 scoring team in the league when I held them in January. They're now the 2nd best scoring team in the league. So I don't know if you judge that because they're still up there.
You're still doing well.
Do I lose some pennies?
Well, you've gained since the beginning. Maybe
Right.
you lost a little bit since last quarter, but I think you're still, but you're still in the plus.
Okay, it's the crazy thing about San Diego is that no one saw this coming. Everyone's like their defense.
Yeah.
They have the best defense in the league. I mean, the
Yeah.
8.71 goals against average. Chiliano's been really good. I mean, they last play back on the 12th of February, so it's been a little while since we see them. They beat Panther City 10-4. And, you know, like I said, they've been sort of at that top, and it's like, well, it might be a good time to sell high like you did.
Right.
But they have 4 straight home games coming up here. Albany, Calgary, and the Rush, all of which are bottom half offensive teams in the league.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging on, man. I am holding the San Diego offense.
Smart move.
Jeremy Noble's been really good. 6 goals, 29 assists in 6 games this year. So he's got 35 points, second on the team, back to the way he was with the Mammoth in 2018 when he had 82 points. And the thing that makes, you know, there's a lot of teams in this league with a couple of good guys at the top. You know, Westberg's been great.
Yeah.
Dane Dobie since he came over. But you look and see the depth of this offense. Stotts has been good for them. Trey LeClaire, 26 and 25 points apiece. Mac O'Keefe has 16 points. So you go down that list and you have more and more options. It just makes that much stronger. These guys, ones that weren't on the team last year either for San Diego. And you look at the production and what that means wins-wise, that's why they're on the roll they're on right now. So I'm holding their offense.
That's a smart move. I'm jealous that you bought them when you did because you're
Savvy.
You're riding that one high. All right. The other, I bought the Saskatchewan Rush about
In January?
a month ago.
That was
yeah, it was a
January
January
window?
buy.
January
They were
window,
1-3 when I bought them, and they're 1-3 since. So
You've lost some there.
I have. It hasn't gone the direction I thought. I keep waiting for this. Like, it almost just doesn't make sense. Because you look at their game against Colorado this past Sunday, which I was really excited to see. By the way, the team's 2-6 now, which is just not what you expect to see from Saskatchewan. You look at this game this past weekend where they lost by 2. They only scored 10 goals, and you still have Matthews, you still have Ryan Keenan, you still have Robert Church, you added Josh Courier, Dan Lintner, and it's not like these guys aren't scoring. Like all of them had points in that loss to Colorado. Dylan Ward just ended up being
my
a little
guy,
bit too.
Dylan Ward.
Your guy, Dylan Ward.
Dylan Ward in a second. That's 57 saves, baby.
But this has been the consistent theme. Like they have these pieces offensively, but they're not performing the way in which we've seen them. And so for them to be 2-6, it's just head scratching. I'm selling. I'm out.
They've lost a lot of close games this year.
They have. I just and you know what? Now it's probably going to turn around, but I don't know if I'm riding it down.
All right.
I'm out. I'm out on the Rush. So I'm selling Vancouver high. I think I made money there. I'm selling Saskatchewan.
I might want to buy Saskatchewan there, 2-6.
Lost.
That could help me out big time. Maybe next time.
You maybe make the same mistake I did.
All right. Next up, Patrick Dodds. I had.
Yeah, you held on to him. You've had him since the beginning.
I had him back in December after a nice goal for assist performance in Philly. He's been just as good. I mean, he's been consistent. He's not like a big money guy for me, but he's like one of those that's he's gonna pay the bills. You know, an extra like sandwich here and there I can afford just by the dividend dividends he's given me over time. But he's second in the league in points when it comes to rookies, only to Jeff Teat. And he's making up some ground there, too. Teat has 43. Dodds has 31. Teat hasn't played as many games. But still, I mean, Dodds is catching up. He's second in the league among rookies. Like we talked about when I bought him.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't seen as this hot rookie that's going to come out and take the league by storm at the time. So I've liked what he's done for him. Second on the team. So I'm going to sell him because I kept him back in January.
You think this is it?
On the premise that with Ryan Benesh out, that he would really step up in production and make a lot more on him. But he's been consistently good. But I think at this point, you know, Panther City teams are going to starting to figure them out a little bit more as time goes on. They're having a little bit more trouble, and that's what they are. They're an expansion team without their #1 pick, Jonathan Donville, for the entirety of the year. So I think I'm going to sell Dodds. I liked what he gave to me, and now I think that's enough. A rookie's going to maybe hit a wall here soon. He's had really nice production so far this year, but I'm going to sell. I'm going to cut my losses with Dodds now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Patrick. You're good for me. So.
Did well.
Yeah.
You made money on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple that I'm buying. So I'll start here with a player whose stock I'm buying, and that's Ryan Lee from Colorado. Now, you're buying this pretty high.
Yeah, that's an expensive price.
Yeah, I'm going to use some of the money I've made on Vancouver, and I'm going to put this toward Ryan Lee because he's third in league in points with 54 in 8 games, but he's played in 2 fewer games than the guys that are ahead of him. And he's not that far behind the likes of Lyle Thompson and company. And he's the only Mammoth player in the top 20 in scoring. He is carrying this Colorado offense, and I am all in. Like, one of my favorite plays I've seen all season came from this past Sunday, Colorado-Saskatchewan, when Dylan Ward saved it at one end, went end-to-end, and Ryan Lee finishes with a full Superman dive goal at the other. Like, if there's anything that describes what Colorado it's Dylan Ward stopping it at one end and Ryan Lee scoring at the other, and it was all in one highlight. It was perfect. I'm in on him. That he's just like, we've seen his stock steadily rising throughout the beginning part of his career, and honestly, it's kind of too bad they didn't have last year because this is, I think, the prime of Ryan Lee's career. We saw it early coming out of RIT, the kind of hopes of this, and now things have turned over to him in Colorado where he's the guy in this offense, and I think he's showing you why.
Yeah, it's fascinating that we're focusing so far in the West. And we always have
I know.
This. It kind of shows you that the East, everyone's sort of doing what we thought they would do.
True.
Right? There hasn't been many surprises. That's how wild the West is.
Yeah, the West is wide open.
Like, you can't really,
wild,
it's hard to
West.
predict on a weekly basis. You don't know really what's going on out there. But I'll stay. I mean, I've got 2 more Mammoth guys I want to talk about right now.
What do you got?
I got Dylan Ward. I bought him back in January. I have made big bucks off of him.
That was it. He had almost 50 saves this week.
I mean, the day that I bought, a couple days after I bought him, was when he had that 5 goals allowed in 330 or whatever it was. He got pulled. It was the doom and gloom. #trade Ward. Oh, has he been good since then? At that point in the year, he was at an 11.77 goals against average. That's down to 9.58, third in the league. He now leads the league in save percentage, 82%. Just beat the Rush, as we mentioned, 12-10. He made 57 saves in that game. So I am holding him, and I am reaping the spoils.
By the way, Saskatchewan, Colorado again. This week.
Yeah, at Rush Saturday, and then I'm holding him too because they host Panther City after that.
Yep.
So that's another. I was thinking a sell high situation, but I'm going to ride this out for a little as longer as I can. And I'll finish up. And I'm talking about Colorado anyway. Zed Williams, just to dovetail off of Ryan Lee. Zed Williams, really interesting. If you watched the game the other day, he was so involved. And he had 4 assists, one of his biggest days for Colorado. And I think maybe he's finally starting to find his way and his role within this offense and within this club of the Colorado Mammoth, because he's been quiet for the most part of this year. He has 5 goals, 13 assists, though, in 7 games. In 2020, they played 12 games that year. He had 12 assists. So I think that the role's different for him, but I think that could help him moving forward because he was doing a little bit of everything. He had a couple caused turnovers. He had 4 assists, picking up a loose ball here and there. I loved his involvement, and I'm buying that. I'm buying his involvement in the game and that he wasn't just out there just trying to find his shots. He was doing everything and anything. So I love the way he played, so I'm going to buy Zed Williams now as well.
Okay. All right, I like that one. I've got one more that I'm buying. I said I'm just completely changing my portfolio. I sold 2, I'm buying 2, and I'm buying the Toronto Rock.
Okay,
His
back to the East.
Yeah, I'm going to the East. Team's going in the right direction. They've won 4 straight. They had the victory over Buffalo that was really strong a couple of weeks ago. Tom Schreiber is clicking. He's up there in the top 20 in scoring. We mentioned he got his a milestone point number a couple of weeks ago in that win over the Bandits. And here's the other reason I'm buying Toronto here, because you look ahead to their next several games. They've got 2 games versus the Riptide. They've got Vancouver, which could be tough, but then they've got Georgia. I like them in all 4 of those games.
Yeah.
I think they could turn this 4 straight into about 8 straight.
They could take that into the lead.
Really,
of the division.
Look,
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing, because you look at that schedule. So that's their next 4. They finish with a really tough schedule. They got Halifax and Toronto here at the back end of the regular season. But you put together a nice stretch here, and you stretch this into a 5, 6, 7 game winning streak. All of a sudden, you're competing with the likes of Halifax and Buffalo at the top. I think Toronto's going to be the playoff team here in the East, along with those 2. Keep an eye on the Rock. They're feisty.
The team that nobody wants to play, as they say, right? That's the
Yeah.
team that they are, because if Schreiber continues to stay at this rate, they'll be very unbeatable.
It's like they're the team that nobody's talking about in the East, because
Yeah.
I think you have to talk about Buffalo, because I think they have all the talent in the world, and Halifax, the last 2 seasons that they've played, has been up there at the top.
Yeah, and Cody Jamieson's starting to play really well.
back.
He's healthy, and he's been playing better and better as the year has gone on there, too.
So Toronto's just kind of lingering there in that 3rd spot, but look out. If you're the top 2, I don't want to see Toronto.
No, I think that's what makes the East fun. Like, everybody is who we thought they were for now.
For the most part, yeah.
For now, until Toronto goes and takes over the top. All right.
so there you go.
That does it for stock options. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I like what you did.
I'm scrapping.
I mean, you might be operating at a bit of a loss right now.
I
but,
might be.
I mean, that's okay.
We're going to try to dig out of
You
the hole.
tried to sell off some assets, get some new ones, and it's going to be all right. And as for mine, I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm probably up a little bit, right? I'm doing.
Yeah.
I haven't lost too much.
No, I think you're
Okay.
doing pretty well.
All right. Well, I'll take that. Like I said, I'll buy some extra sandwiches for myself.
There you go. It's fake money, Tom.
Well,
It's fake.
I mean, I'll do that anyway.
Okay, all right.
I deserve it. I earned it. That does it for today's show. Appreciate everybody joining us. Big show coming up on Thursday. We got Beth Hewitt, the Vanderbilt head coach for the women, and they just came off a huge victory over Notre Dame.
Yeah,
So
rolling.
can't wait to get her on the show. She was with Lemoyne,
Yeah.
and she came from Oregon, helped launch the program there. So it's a great story.
And Ronan Jacoby from Rutgers, another team coming off a big win from this past weekend. So both of them on Thursday's show, so make sure you come check that out. But for now, we say so long for Tom. I'm Travis. We'll see you.